Hello and welcome to Divine Messy Human. Today I have with me, the gorgeous Ilana K, who is a leading Australian kinesiologist. She is local to me and we studied at the same place. She's a women's wellbeing mentor, yoga and meditation teacher, and she's an entrepreneur with a past life as a CPA accountant in the corporate world. Ilana's own health journey with chronic fatigue, irregular cycles, and autoimmune disease taught her that slowing down, finding moments of stillness and listening to the body's intuition are not just important, they are essential. Ilana is passionate about teaching women how to optimize their energy, step into their power and cyclical nature. She assists women to live in alignment and flow by learning to structure their weeks around their energy levels and listening to their bodies. She also works with children and some men to assist in shifting their essence, energy, and mindset so that they can live authentic, content, and happy lives. Originally from Gippsland, Australia, Ilana now lives in Bayside, Melbourne. She spends her days with clients, mentoring, facilitating workplace workshops, teaching yoga and meditation, running retreats, writing, cooking in her kitchen, and spending as much time at the beach as she can. Ilana and I have rather parallel lives, but very, very similar experiences. So, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's such a pleasure to finally, we were talking before we press record, there's a gazillion reschedules of this podcast.
Do you know what? As always, it happens in divine timing, and I
Of
knew we'd get
course.
there eventually. But I think part of the reason I wanted to talk to you, particularly on the podcast, is because you have had a very similar experience. The chronic fatigue,
Yeah.
horrendous cycles, and I think it's really interesting to talk to people who've had similar but different experiences.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about how you found kinesiology, because I think a lot of those things are obviously what lead us to our path.
Yeah. So I was probably about 28, I'll say. I had this right ankle pain that would not shift.
Mm.
And I'd been to physios and osteos that had massage. I had also been to a Melbourne some sports clinics. I can't remember the name of it. And they're like, we'll give you a cortisone injection. So I did that. And of course, it didn't work. And they're like, oh, we probably are going to have surgery and go in and have a look. And, we might have to do this and do that. But they kind of didn't really know why. And so I had a friend of mine, a dance friend of mine, actually, she's like, I reckon you should go and see this chiropractor. He does this thing. It's called applied kinesiology. He does this thing and he's magic, and I think he can help you. So yeah, Steve is a chiropractor. He actually has a Carlton office and a Hampton office, and I now used to see him in Carlton because I lived in North Melbourne, and now I live in Bayside and see him in Hampton, so I was very lucky. He introduced me to applied kinesiology, and whatever he did in a couple of sessions, my ankle pain went from 10 to 3.
Wow.
I was like, you just pushed a few things, and you corrected my back and my arms in the air, and I have to take this supplement. But things started to shift. After that, I actually went and he has more of a holistic kind of what we do, kinesiologist in his practice. And I started seeing her, and she was telling me things about my life that I was like, how does she know this? And yeah, it was just really, really interesting what was unfolding from obviously seeing from the more the physical aspect, I suppose, the applied kinesiology, because he doesn't really touch that too much, I will say, on the mental and emotional. And then obviously seeing the holistic kinesiologist, I just went like, what? And I knew at that point in my life that while accounting was great and I loved numbers and I was actually really good at it, I knew this wasn't my thing forever. And I had already started looking at, do I do a naturopathy course or something else like that? And I was like, I'm going to study this first and see where I go.
Yeah, nice.
And that's how I started.
Awesome. So talk to me a little bit about how chronic fatigue presented for you, because I know it actually presents very, very differently for certain people. And I know that's why mine took so long to I guess, be discovered or be diagnosed, for want of a better word. So, how did your chronic fatigue present? And then, how did, I guess, that and your cycle irregularities tie together?
Yeah, so I would say my chronic fatigue journey probably started like root started when I was a child.
Mm.
But then it didn't really obviously flare until sort of mid to late 20s. And I had glandular fever when I was 7. And prior to that,
Wow.
I had really chronic asthma and autoimmune stuff as a sort of young child. And then through childhood, I had like lots of tonsillitis and chest infections. And, I was constantly sick.
Mm.
um, but in my 20s, I was a people pleaser. I was working full time, studying part time. So I went straight from high school. I ended up getting a traineeship at the local power station because I'm from Gippsland, and the power stations were the place to get work. My mum's like, "You're crazy if you let that go." And I didn't quite get the enter score I needed to get into accounting anyway. So I thought, well, I'll go. In my interview, I was like, I want to be an accountant. I think that's what sold them. And then a year into my apprenticeship, I started doing my degree part-time. So I was studying part-time, so 2 subjects a semester and working full-time. And I had a part-time job on weekends, probably for the first 2 years, so 18, 19, maybe, or till I was 20. But it took 6 years for me to finish my course part-time, because the 6th year I actually went back full-time. I got a scholarship through my work to go back full-time. The second semester I ended up working part-time and working, because I did 6 subjects I think in the first semester. So as you can tell, like, I was just constantly on.
Mm.
I was
Yeah.
either working, studying, and I was a bit of a gym junkie then. So I went from being really energetic and doing a lot of dancing as a child and playing netball to being like this, like almost like this rigidity, like I have to go to the gym, like that's healthy, not knowing that you need off and being. I was very yang,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
constitutionally I'm very yin. So there was a mismatch, like that sort of differentiating energetic misalignment where I was constantly giving out all of this energy all the time and I wasn't recuperating it. There wasn't any rest or being or switching off. And yeah, I got to late 20s. My parents had actually gone through a divorce, I think 2 years prior, and I was a bit of the meat in the middle for that. I got drawn through a breakup with a guy that I'd been with for 5 years, and I just pushed my emotions. I just basically swallowed everything.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm okay. Like, I can be here for everyone. I'm fine. And I was a yes person at work and would help everybody with all of their work and stay back and not take my RDOs. And I had gazillion annual leave and I never took holidays. And yeah, I ended up, this stage I was actually working in the corporate office in the city, so it was even more go-go than it was working in the power station. And I just fell in a heap. I literally, my partner and I just bought a new, incidentally, prior to that year, I went to South America and went dancing for 3 months and went traveling with a friend. And I had the vaccines for that. And I think that was like that pinpoint that my body went, oh, because I really felt different after traveling overseas, and I got sick while I was over there. And I think, yeah, I came home and I just couldn't recuperate. I was always exhausted and tired, and I just kept pushing.
Yeah. Isn't it
And it
funny?
was
That's
just,
the story that we get, is just
yeah,
push through, soldier on.
yeah. Like I remember getting off the plane, um, it wasn't that trip, it was another trip. And I'd gone to a dance weekend and I got home on the Friday afternoon and I got off the plane and went into work.
Wow.
Like, I had
Yep.
no boundaries. I was like free for all for everyone. Like whoever wanted me, I would just show up and be there.
Wow. What do
And
you think was the switch that flipped to, I mean, I always joke that I bounced along rock bottom and kept finding new levels of rock bottom before I actually, kind of fully woke up to it. But what do you think was one of those moments that really flipped you into something's got to change, something's got to give? This is like that no turning back type moment.
Yeah, well, so I was sitting at my desk, I think 3 days before my 30th birthday, and I literally couldn't, like, I was just a blank canvas. Like, there was just nothing coming in, nothing, like, and I was just like, I can't do this, like, something's wrong and I need to fix whatever's. I was just almost like emotionally or mentally, physically dead.
Wow.
That's what it felt like. I was just literally, I just wasn't there.
Mm.
And prior to that, I'd stopped sleeping.
Of course. Of
And
course.
the cycle stuff, I had been on the pill for a really long time. And then I had met my current partner that I have now the year prior, and I'd come off and my cycle just hadn't appeared. Which
Wow.
it can take a little while for it to
Mm.
sort of come into some sort of flow, but it was just non-existent.
Yeah.
And yeah, I literally just couldn't function.
Mm. Yeah.
So I went and saw an integrative doctor and did all of the tests, and yeah, she's like, yeah, you're not in a great place.
Yeah, we get that. We get that. So, what made you choose kinesiology over obviously all of the other modalities that are out there? Because, well, for me, I personally don't believe that any one modality is going to be the one that,
And I
fixes
used
it, so to speak.
and I had a bucket list, or not a bucket list, I had a team of people. So
Yeah,
at that point I was seeing
same.
an acupuncturist and psychotherapist and a kinesiologist and a chiropractor, and I was having massage. Then I went through the whole detox phase of, then I did colonics and, but the reason I chose kinesiology was I liked the fact that there was that feedback aspect where, they were tapping into your stuff and looking at probably for me, it was a lot of changing of mindset, beliefs and self-sabotages and reactive patterns, and looking at the way you ticked as an individual person, and then figuring out what we needed to do to bring that mind, body, soul back into balance and equilibrium, and, receiving the downloads that you needed in a session. And then, going away and, starting to slowly make those changes and transitions in your sort of internal but also external world, because it's not what you do in that 1 hour.
That
And
was
we don't
exactly
fix
what I was just going to
anyone, we fix
say.
ourselves.
Yeah. And I think that's what I love about it as well. It is that true self-responsibility
Yeah.
model. I'm not one who has clients coming back, session after session for years, because I want to give them the tools so they can fly. I love seeing clients who go away and then come back a year, 18 months later and go, yep, I'm ready for some more now. It's so exciting to be able to give people the wings and the ability to tap into themselves. I think that's what I love about it as well.
Yeah.
As you say, it's not us fixing, it's them doing the work. We're just facilitating and translating what's going on, which I loved. So, how do you think all of that lived experience that you've got translates into the stuff that you've learned and how you bring that to your clients?
Yeah, well, I feel like, one of the reasons why, some clients are drawn to me is I have, journeys in very, very, like, lots of paths, because there's like the accounting and business side and corporate, like, and then, I've got, I worked in a male dominant industry. So then sometimes men like seeing to me because I can relate, because I'm used to dealing with men, like,
Mm.
and, we don't have to talk, all the really be really fluffy, but they get what I'm kind of saying. And, I've done so much work on my health. I did every diet, like, to try and energize myself. And as I said, I went through gallbladder flushes and colonics, and I did all these food detoxes and all the potions and the supplements and the like that was a branch of my and then all the different yogas and therapies that way, like physically, like laughter yoga, and I tried everything to try. And in the end, the main thing, and then I did a lot of the mindset stuff, which in the end, to be honest, working on what you're thinking and saying has been a massive part of, I suppose, one of the things I'm really passionate about is being really aware of what you're saying or what your belief system is telling you, and those self-sabotages. Because for me, that was like the switch that went from, oh, I have this sort of thing going on health condition wise, but I was feeding it.
Yeah. And how often do
So
we feed these things without being fully aware that we're feeding them and that we're creating those cycles
yeah,
and patterns?
so that was, the main one of the branches of my journey, that is being really mindful of what we're thinking or think of ourselves, because our internal world quite often will create what's happening on the in the external world. And that was definitely true as part of my physically what was going on for me health wise is, if I really watched what I was thinking or what the emotions were coming up, or that had a massive impact on how I felt energetically.
Yeah.
But also then, what was happening externally to me. So I think for me, I just take a lot of these branches, journeys, and all of the life lessons. And then, I just kind of use them. I'm a big believer in practicing what you preach. But I just love sharing them with people. So, my clients are always like, are you like an encyclopedia for books?
Yeah. There's so much that goes on, isn't there? I think, and one of the things that I've always loved about kinesiology is that it does tap into so many of the different modalities. We touch on the nutrition and the naturopathy, we touch on the body chemistry, the liver function, gosh, what else? We've got the aromatherapy aspect, we've got reflexology, the traditional Chinese medicine, acupressure points, all of the things. And I think that's what I've really loved about it, is it's given such a huge awareness to me about all of these other things that then I go and explore deeper with people from that specialize in those modalities.
Yeah, and I think also, like, I used to be like, there has to be a supplement to fix this.
Yeah.
Or, like, I have to eat, my diet has to be like pristine, like like all gluten-free, all dairy-free. Mind you, I do most of that anyway. But like, I was so fixated that, it was physically something, and it actually physically wasn't. Like, we are so quite often as a society fixated, and I think it's slowly changing on, like, health being just a physical thing. It's like that, and mental, emotional, and spiritual, that's probably more that what needs to be looked after and looked at than that physical aspect. But I agree, like, that's why I chose kinesiology in the end, because it's like you've got this massive pool of resources, and the body will tell you which resource it wants to find balance again. And you don't necessarily need to eat buckets of kale or take 500 supplements, because it's probably an emotion that's actually causing that root thing in the first place.
Yeah, I love it. Knowing that, how old's your bubba now? Just over 1?
No, she's only 9.5 months.
Oh, is she? I don't know why I thought she was.
Yeah, no, she's not.
There you go.
September baby.
Oh, September. Okay, gotcha.
Almost.
How did you find, I mean, obviously I was much older or not perhaps older, but I had older children when I found kinesiology and started doing the work. So their trauma was already done.
But that must be part of their journey, is to heal that.
They signed up for it. It's fine. How did you find having all of this knowledge and awareness of all of that mind, body, spirit connection that emotional influence as you went through that journey of obviously, trying to get pregnant, getting pregnant, being pregnant, and bringing a child earthside. How has that influenced you? There's a lot of me that kind of gets a bit jealous because I'm like, damn, I wish I'd listened to those calls earlier.
But
But
there's
as
a
you
lot
say,
of
it was all
me.
of our journey.
But in hindsight, I'll get into that. There's always a flip side, because energetically, I feel like I wish I'd have done it earlier, because energetically I might have had a little bit more, I suppose not spark, but just my tank might have been a bit fuller for running after a toddler, or my baby doesn't sleep very well. Unfortunately, she's just a soul that likes comfort at nighttime, which is fine. She's like her daddy. I get it. Like, but yeah, on the other flip side, like we're talking about, I feel like, and because I've worked with a lot of women through that fertility journey, I have worked with quite a few women in my practice who have had issues getting pregnant. Obviously, I have a women's cycle or women's hormone certificate. I did one so I had that knowledge, and then applying it to myself, I was like, oh, my egg count is relatively low. That's not always a definite sign that I'm not going to get pregnant. It's going to be hard, but that's the rule out there. Most people think if my egg count's low, it's going to be hard to fall pregnant. Well, I was like, okay, so it might take us a year to get pregnant or two. I was really mindful. We also started trying when I was 37. So I was like, age can sometimes be against you, but I'd had acupuncture for 4 years straight since I got sick. I eat relatively well. I do before I had summer, I was meditating and, doing some yoga and, looking after myself physically as well as mentally and emotionally, had my team of people that I still see, every month or so. And I thought, this is going to take forever. Well, not forever. Like I'm prepared it's going to take longer, a little bit longer. First try, done. Like
She was ready.
She was ready, because I had prepared also. We did all of the tests prior, because I also said to my partner, we might as well do all the tests first, because usually they make you wait a year. And I was like, I'm not doing that because we're old and I know what we need to get tested. So we just went in and I was like, we want to test this.
Yeah.
So we were prepared. Everything was fine apart from a low egg count, and I had low iron. And yeah, so I feel like, she was ready. My pregnancy was an up and down journey. I was really sick, as most women are, with all day sickness. We won't call it morning sickness, because let's face it, it's not. For about 20 or 22 weeks. Had some pelvic pain, which a lot of women get too. I didn't sleep very well first trimester or third trimester. And then she was small. So from about 30 weeks, it was like ultrasound once a week, CGT testing, like checking her heart rate. Intuitively, I was like, there's nothing wrong with her.
Yeah.
Me and her husband were small babies, and she wasn't like really, really tiny though, but she was on the smaller side. And so in my mind, I was like, I would love to have a natural birth, obviously, because that's what I would like. I wanted to have a home birth. My partner was like, first baby. I don't know if we can do that. So we compromised. And in the end, they induced me, or tried to induce me. Both methods in the end didn't work. I was sensitive to one. They couldn't get in for the other. Anyway, she ended up being a C-section baby, but I had to just flow with it. And I think because I have this awareness and this mindset, and I kind of try and go with the flow more now. And I don't try and push like I used to. If we talked about pre-30s, I would have been like I would have been so determined that this was my plan.
Yeah.
Whereas I was really open, optimistic, obviously, but after spending 48 hours trying all these induction methods and in the end not working, and going almost through fake labor with one of them,
Yeah.
like, can I go home for 10 days? They're like, no. I was like, come on, I just have it naturally? No. I was like, okay, well, do it. Just do it. And then once she was born, I think for me, the biggest blessing has been able to shift my mind when I feel like I'm in a sinking battleship moment, you
Mm.
know, when you feel defeated, when your baby's screaming and you're tired, and you know, and I would just be like, I'd take a few deep breaths and be like, you've got this, this will pass. Like, and I would just mentally and emotionally, I suppose, back myself
Yeah.
in the moments, because my partner he actually went to Sydney about 9 days after she was born for work, for the day. And he's away for 11 hours Monday to Friday. Like,
Wow.
he doesn't work from home. So I've had a lot of time with her on my own. My mum lives 2 hours away. Noah's mum lives an hour away. And while they came, it was only for a day or a night. Like, so I've spent most of the time raising, I won't say on my own, but I've spent a lot of time doing it
Yeah.
on, you know, myself. And my tools, I'd go and grab an essential oil, or I'd pick an angel card. I definitely did a yoga nidra every afternoon when she napped. That was a non-negotiable, because she wasn't sleeping. I needed to sleep. In the morning, I would do business. I'd actually record podcast episodes or write an email. Maybe not the first 6 weeks or 8 weeks, but after that, I would use it to do some work, because it made me feel like me when I worked.
And what a beautiful lesson for you to recognize that. I think it's lovely because you've touched on all of those different aspects of the mind, body, spirit. It's what tools do I have to support me? And I look at it in terms of that internal scaffolding and external scaffolding. Which ones are holding us up from the inside? The yoga nidra, oh my God, I wish I knew about that when I had children. I can tell you that for nothing.
I would not have survived without that. Like, that has been a godsend.
Oh, I wish I knew about that. Even now, when I have my insomnia, rear its head, I will
Yeah.
find that 15, 20 minutes and do a quick yoga nidra
Yeah.
and come out and I'll be all energized and ready to go again. It's amazing. So again, all of those internal tools, but then those external scaffolding as well of the practitioners we work with, and family, friends, those support structures, because it is really important, I think, to have a balance of the two.
Yeah.
And I love that you've kind of touched on all of those different aspects in being able to keep you balanced through
Yeah.
it.
And, also connecting with mothers, going to play group, going to the library, catching up with my mother's group, or, like, that has been my lifeline, because they're the people who are closest to me. They live in my area. We can catch up, okay, my baby's asleep now. My baby's asleep now. Okay, let's catch up in an hour. Like, but getting out also has been vital.
I love that you mention your time at the beach. Talk about, I guess, how that helps to heal you and keep you sane.
Well, one of the reasons we moved to the beach was the beach is like, as soon as I jump in the water, it's like anything that's that's influenced me, or if I'm having a day or a moment or I'm a bit tired, I instantly feel energized and recharged and refueled. And up until, I'll say, up until I was pregnant, I was going, because it was obviously summertime. I started like that December, and I was going every morning until I realized I was pregnant mid-January. So that was my new thing, was to go beach swimming. And I'm actually part of a women's, they go to the Brighton Paths, and they're doing it in winter. I'm not doing it at the moment because they get up at 6 a.m. and it's way too early for me when my baby doesn't sleep. But the beach is my soul it's where I recharge and refuel, and it just resets my nervous system instantly. So it doesn't matter what I'm feeling. Once I get out, I'm a completely different person. And at the moment, I'm using cold showers in the morning instead.
I find
That
it so
go
much
warm.
easier to do the cold in the bay. Oh my goodness,
Yes,
I
but
can't do a
I
cold
just can't.
shower.
Yeah, at the moment, unfortunately, my partner leaves by 7:15. So, and usually sometimes we're only just getting out of bed about 7, especially now at the moment it's winter.
Yeah.
So I'm resorting to a cold shower instead, and I need to buy a wetsuit because it's a little bit cold at this time of the year.
Oh,
But
I did
I will be back.
regularly May to October last year, but I've only been in a couple of times this year. And every morning I'm walking the beach going, I really need to get back in, but I just haven't had that time because by the
Well,
time you get there and,
and
need to
the
warm
salt
up.
water is just, it's the salt, like it's minerals, it's just, the smell, the seaweed, the dirt, like all of it. It just does something to, your entire energetic system and energetic being and I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but for me, that's just a non-negotiable now as part of my health routine. And to be honest, sometimes, I don't need to see a practitioner. I just need to go to the beach.
Yeah.
And even so, more so now, because it's like, I just need space. That's all I
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
There ain't much of it at the moment.
Oh, I completely understand it. I mean, I'm at the opposite end now. So my boy's getting ready to leave home probably January because he wants to go into the armed forces. And
Oh,
so, I'm at that other end going, oh my God, I'm going to have all this time. And I don't know that I'm ready for it yet. Thought I'd have another few years before they disappeared, but. And talk a little bit about the yoga training that you've done because I know that's a big part of your practice as well.
yeah. So I found yoga actually through my chronic fatigue journey. So
Mm.
because I'd gone from being, when I hit rock bottom, I was doing a lot of Latin dancing. Mind you, a lot of it started at 10 and 11 a.m., p.m. on a Friday and Saturday, Sunday night, because we would go out dancing, but they're all at clubs or bars or whatever. And I was going to the gym. And so I felt like movement was a big part of my healing. And movement is like, energy needs to be moved. Like if we just stay still, it gets stuck, it's stagnant. So
Yeah.
I knew I needed to move, but I had no energy. I couldn't get out of bed. Like I could hardly make toast. Like how am I going to? And I ended up finding yin yoga at that stage because restorative yoga wasn't really a big thing back in 2013 to 2014, or wasn't as readily available as it is now. But yin yoga had started to sort of be part of a normal yoga timetable, and I had a couple of beautiful teachers, and yeah, I was just inspired I was like, I want to add this to my toolkit. And I ended up going to Bali for 4 weeks and doing a 200-hour teacher training. And that's where I got introduced to yoga. I had done yoga nidra before, but we did a couple of days as part of our training. And then I ended up doing further training with the same organization. And yeah, it was almost like that permission, especially with the slower styles of yoga. I'm trained in hatha, and I do hatha when I do retreats and things. We do a lot of sort of yang and yin combination classes, and then I'm a big restorative. I love the 10-minute holds, all bolstered up with blankets and pillows, because our nervous systems need off. And we live in Western societies where we're not very good at switching off, and we need off to heal. We need off to become aware. We need off to connect internally, to know what we need to move forward in life. And I love creating the spaces for those opportunities to be still, to just to be honest, because that's where the magic comes in. And everyone always is like, oh, I needed that, and oh my God, that was amazing. And I was like, well, I didn't really do a lot, but create the space for you to just connect in and be.
I think it's creating, but also holding that space because
Yeah.
people need to feel, again, going back to that nervous system aspect, they need to feel safe.
Yeah.
And often when you're in a bigger gym environment or what have you, even if you're in that slower state, the energy is not quite there to be held in the way that, I know, for example, you hold energy for people. So I think there is a big thing to be said about creating that safe space and giving people permission to go into a really deep restorative space. And it's, as much as you say you don't do a lot, I think holding the space is
Yeah, and I know
A
as soon
job
as
in
I said that,
itself.
it is. But I love that,
Yeah.
facilitating those safe spaces for, the ability to just stop and have that
Yeah.
permission to be.
Oh, it's so vital. It is so vital. And it's one of the things that I still work in progress on, is finding all of
Oh, me
those
too.
times.
But that's my go-to now. As soon as I have space, it's a yoga class, like a yin or restorative yoga class. Yeah, or going for a magnesium float or something where I'm literally just still.
I love it. I love it. So I know we've got to get a bit of a wiggle on, because you've got a
I can
beautiful
hear
young
it.
lady to go and deal with. So just a couple of last questions. Firstly, what is your understanding of spirituality?
Oh, my understanding of spirituality. That's whoa. Great one for a mum that doesn't sleep, who's like, great, I don't even know what to say. Spirituality to me is a feeling, and it's a real connection back to self, but really believing that there's more out there than just what's tangible.
I love
About that
that.
trust and faith, to be honest.
Yeah, I love that. I love asking that question, because everybody has almost the same answer, but they put it in such
Different
beautiful
words.
individual ways. And I just love hearing it, because I think it's so many different facets of how we want to sum it up. And this is where our 3D language often, I think, fails us.
Mm,
So it's beautiful getting people to put the 3D language to those ideas.
mm.
And finally, what does being a divine, messy human mean to you?
Oh, just living in flow, accepting the dark, enjoying the light, but knowing, that this too shall pass. That's my motto at the moment.
Oh, my mum used to go, this too shall pass. It may pass like a kidney stone, but it'll pass.
Yeah.
And it's one of those spiritual platitudes that when you are in the messy middle, you really don't want to hear it, because it makes you want to punch people. However, when you're through the messy middle and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, you're like, yeah, they were right. Oh, I love it. So tell everybody how they can find you, and I will no doubt have you on again at some point in the future.
So I am at ilanak.com.au. That's my website. Facebook and Instagram is ilanaK.kinesiology. And I am on I'm the Energy Shift podcast. So if you want some tools and inspiration on how you can shift your energy, you can come find me.
Fantastic. Oh, I will let you get to your gorgeous little earth angel and send you so much love. Thank you so much for being here today and spreading your light. We need you in this world. So thank you.
Thank you so much.